Now, I'm gonna have to say something that I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on, but when it comes to Venom, with Roof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we are back with another video. We're doing something a little bit different today because I recently bought my tickets for Spider-Man No Way Home, and I am absolutely hyped for this movie. With that in mind, I decided to pretend that it was still 2017, and I'm just going to be doing a tier list. But I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. I'm not going to be ranking them based on what they've done in the comics, but I'm going to be ranking them personally on which ones I would be more scared of actually fighting. Full disclaimer, I've never knocked anyone out in my life, so I don't really know what basis I'm going for. So starting it off with the tiers, at the very top we've got Superior, then just underneath that we've got Amazing, then in our mid tier we're paying homage to one of the forgotten villains of the Spider-Man movie universe because we've got Bonesaw. I then couldn't think of what to call the C tier, so we're just going to go with C, and then we're skipping a few, and at the very bottom we're going to go with Friendly Neighbourhood. So kicking it off right here, we've got the Beetle. He looks like the female version. I think this is a very underused character in the Spider-Man universe. I only really know a lot about them from the Ultimate universe, and I'm not even too sure which person it is that's under the mask at that point, but I'm going to be putting them as C tier because I get the feeling that if they picked me up and got me in the air, I'd be pretty scared at that point. We've then got the Anti-Venom. I've only really read one story with them in. They were pretty scary, but I think because of the fact that there's so many other different kinds of symbiotes, they're kind of losing a bit of their appeal. Still, don't really want to go up and fight one, but I also don't think that they're a proper top tier villain, so I'm going to go with Bonesaw level. We've then got the Big Wheel, and I'm just going to put him straight away as Friendly Neighbourhood because of the fact that I live in a block of flats, so I think I'm pretty safe because of the fact that I'm higher up. Black Cat, okay. I don't want to get into a fight with Black Cat, but at the same time, I reckon I could use that typical Mad Dog sexual prowess that is completely underrated and no one's probably ever seen, if I'm being completely honest with you. But at the same time, I feel like she could shatter my fragile ego pretty quickly, which is something that is a bit of a touching point for me. But a deciding factor, she is a thief, and I think that's something that would play quite heavily into her game plan. She could easily steal some of the books that I hold close to me. Yeah, okay, she's going to go in Amazing category. We've then got the Black Tarantula, and even though he's quite a dominant force, even though I wouldn't like to get into a fist fight with him, I don't really think there's too much that there would be there to fear, especially as well if I've got Spider-Man powers, so I'm probably going to put him at Bonesaw level. We've then got the Boomerang, the guy that's only really terrifying if you have to live with him. I'm not scared of this guy at all. Even if he did exist in the real world, I wouldn't run away from a fight with him. Then we've got Carnage, and I know I just said about the symbiotes, and I feel like they've lost a lot of their appeal, but Carnage is still the one that scares me probably most. Like I said, Ultimate Spider-Man was my first introduction into a lot of these characters, and he was pretty terrifying in that. And then I read Mainline Carnage, and he was even worse. He's literally the last person you'd want to get a symbiote attached to them. I think I'm going to have to... Is he amazing? Is he superior? I think at the minute, because the superior box is lacking a little bit, I'm going to put him there for now, but I might move him. And as well, just whilst we're on it, if you are interested in reading Ultimate Spider-Man, there is a reprint of the omnibus that's coming out soon, and you can already pick it up from the channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. They've got great packaging, fast shipping, and amazing customer services, and if you use code WOOFWOOF, you'll get $2 off your order. And I don't know about you, but if I was doing some kind of tier list of all the comic book sellers, Organic Price Books is probably the only one that's going to go into God tier. There's going to be a link to the Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus in the description down below, and there's also going to be a link to both the tier itself. You know, I'm not sure who the creator was that did it. I believe it's this person here, Stark Jow. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And there's also going to be a link to our Reddit page r/MadDogComic community. So make sure you take part, do this tier challenge for yourself, and let's see what everybody comes up with. Next up though, we've got the Chameleon, and the thing is, there's a lot of people in my life that are two-faced anyway. However, he is still quite a formidable foe. I don't think he's going to go into Amazing category, but I'm comfortable in putting him with Bonesaw. And actually, I'd probably move him so that he's top of the Bonesaw tier. We've then got the Demo Goblin. I'm not sure if that is still his name. It's been quite a few years since I've even seen him appear in anything. Kind of similar to what I said about symbiotes. I just think there's too many goblins, so admittedly, I'm probably going to put him in C list. But now we're getting into one of the big boys. We've got one of the massive hitters. We've got Doc Ock. And a little unknown fact about Doc Ock that I've only recently learned, but his middle name is actually Otto. His first name is actually Mike, so this is how you actually pronounce his name. I really can't wait until someone in the comments thinks I'm being serious. But Doc Ock, there's no disputing it. He is superior. That's pretty much what the tier is named after anyway. He can hit you on all fronts. Now, yes, Otto Octavius himself, I imagine that if you punched him clean, he's probably going to go down. There's a lot of people on this list that when it comes to a fist fight, I'd rather not be involved in, and I'd probably go for for Otto if he didn't have those arms. He could literally rip off your Jean-Claude, your Van, and your Dam, and then still have a spare arm to just hit you with. Yeah, that's kind of what I call my bits. And not just that, he's like ridiculously intelligent as well, so even if he didn't have the arms, he's probably got countless ways of outsmarting people. Like when it comes to some of the dumber villains, that wouldn't really worry me too much because of the fact that I deal with dumb people on a daily basis. If anything, it'd probably be too easy. But Doc Ock, yeah, I can't deny the fact that he is in the superior tier, and I would not like to fight him at all. I'd really like to play a game of poker with him. I imagine he'd be amazing at dealing out the cards. We've then got the doppelganger. I don't think I've read anything in with him personally, but he's pretty freaky looking, so I'm going to comfortably put him in Bonesaw tier. Coming in next is Electro, who I am really excited to see what exactly they do with him in the new Spider-Man movie, but I am an absolute wimp when it comes to getting shocked. I can't even lick batteries. I'm one of those kind of people. Any kind of electric shock and I will act like I need to go to the emergency room. I really don't have a good tolerance for it compared to most people, I guess. Does anybody really have a good tolerance against electricity? As well, he's just really angry, which is something that I can respect. I'm pretty much angry 90% of the time. I'm even angry now and I don't even know why. I'm going to put him in the superior tier, but I could have maybe put him in amazing. I don't know if I'm just being generous there. We've then got Hammerhead, who thank God I didn't create because I would have just called him Whammy Head. Now I feel like Hammerhead and Chameleon are pretty much in the same league as each other. Organised crime in general just scares me. Like I hate that feeling that you could move somewhere and you don't even realise that it's run by some kind of criminal mastermind. Because to me that pretty much feels like the equivalent of Google, because anytime you get any kind of AdSense, they take about 50% of it. Definitely going to get my channel deleted for saying that one. But yeah, I'm going to put him in C tier, but sort of in the middle ground of it. Actually, I'm going to be generous. I'm going to put him just behind Chameleon, because Chameleon does have that added benefit that he can just change into whoever you want him to look like. Whereas I'm not going to lie, my knuckles hurt just thinking about punching Hammerhead in the face. We've then got the Hobgoblin, the first sort of knockoff of the Green Goblin. I know I put Demo quite low on the list, but I would actually put Hobgoblin into the amazing category. I like the connection that he has with Norman. I like that it's always personal. And admittedly for me, even though I don't think he would personally want to kill me in the same way that he'd want to with Peter Parker, I still do not want to get into a fight with him. Hydra Man, a very underrated villain if you ask me, especially because of the fact that I can't swim. But then again, I also can't ride a bike, but I put Big Wheel in the bottom category. But for Hydra Man, I just think there's something about him that does terrify me, because drowning is just one of the worst feelings that I think a person can go through. You know, probably second only to something like somebody not understanding your joke when you're telling it in a YouTube video. So Hydra Man, even though he doesn't really get a lot of attention, and I think a lot of people will think I'm ranking him too high, I'm going to put him in the amazing category. And just whilst we're on that topic, please just remember this is my personal list. Jackal, I imagine a swift kick in the face can get him out of there, but I'm still going to put him in C tier. Like, I'm kind of scared of stuff that could just run up on you quickly, especially when it's quite small. I think that's why I'm more scared of face huggers than I am the actual xenomorphs. Then it's Jack-o'-lantern. Again, I'm not really too worried about fighting that one because he doesn't appear that often. Like, the way I'm thinking of it is kind of like an either-or situation. And I would definitely rather fight Jack-o'-lantern over Hobgoblin, so that's why he's going to go there. I can't even figure out who these next two are. That probably means that I'm not a real fan and somebody's going to feel the need to cry about it in the comments below. But that kind of looks like Wolverine that isn't Wolverine, and I'm much more scared of real Wolverine, so just because of the fact that he doesn't look like he's a modern character, I'm going to put him next to Big Wheel. And same for this guy, he looks a bit more modern, he's got a cool design. I feel like I should know who that is, but I just don't have a clue off the top of my head. So again, Friendly Neighbourhood category. Sorry about that one, guys, don't take it personally. Now, Kingpin, a very, very underrated Spider-Man villain, but a very highly rated Daredevil villain. The Kingpin's just pretty much got it covered from all angles. All of these mobsters that we're talking about, I'm going to put Kingpin massively higher than them. I would not like to get into a fist fight with the Kingpin, and I'd just really not like to be involved with him in any way. But at the same time, I kind of envy his position. Like, if I had a chance to be a Kingpin, if I could be some kind of ruler of some kind of underworld, I'd pretty much do it. I can't lie, I've had worse jobs. So a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but I'm probably going to put him in the superior category. I think particularly of all the villains that don't actually have superpowers or any kind of enhancement, he is definitely going to be the worst that you'd go up against. And by worst, I mean best. Hopefully you know what I'm doing with this list by now. We've then got Kraven the Hunter, a guy that I am very mixed on against whether or not I'd like to go up against him. I think I'm kind of safe against Kraven the Hunter because of the fact that there's no reason that he'd want to go after me. But I did read Kraven's Satan's Last Hunt earlier on this year, and I definitely recommend checking out that video. And if he did decide that I was somebody that he wanted to hunt down, then yeah, I think I'd be scared shitless. Unless, of course, it's Ultimate Kraven, in which case I wouldn't really be too worried. So just on the slim chance that he is Ultimate Kraven, I'm going to put him in the amazing category. We've then got the Lizard, and yes, if I was Peter Parker, I imagine it'd be much more difficult to go up against him because of the fact that I know who he is. But to me, he's just a lizard in a trench coat that's trying to kill me. Yep, I'm sorry, Kirk Connors, about all your struggles and your tribulations, but the minute that you're trying to kill me, I don't really care too much about that. But I do think he's agile enough and vicious enough to really put up a good threat, so I'm going to put him in the amazing category. Then we've got Mr. Negative, a guy that I only really know from the PS4 game. And not to brag, but I beat him really easily, mainly because I was beating him on easy. But still, considering the connections he's got, and I like the way that he can bend light and stuff like that, I think I would put him at the top of the Bonesaw category. Molten Man, I think this guy would pose quite a big threat to me because of the fact that I always get heat rash. However, I don't really see him as too much of a threat because of the fact that I live in Stoke-on-Trent, which is really cold, and it's raining pretty much all the time anyway, so I don't think he'd pose that much of a threat, and I don't think he's really done enough to make me scare him as an individual. So I'm going to put him as C-list. I might put him just after Beetle. Morbius, I don't know if I'd really need to worry because of the fact that I don't really stay up later than about 10 o'clock. So I think I'm fairly safe, and they've actually tarnished his reputation quite a lot, and they've made him quite some kind of like an anti-hero now. But still, any vampire that's trying to kill you, I imagine would be quite scary. So I'm going to put him in the Bonesaw category as well. This next guy, I can't for the life of me recognize who he is. Yeah, again, I'm probably not a real fan of something like that. To me, he looks like somebody out of the Hellfire Club, but I imagine that's not the case. And admittedly, if you like this type of video, let me know what kind of tier list you'd like to see me do next. I was thinking maybe Flash villains or Batman villains, but let me know in the comment section below. And if there's a suggestion that's got the most thumbs up, I'll probably go with that one. But I'm going to use this opportunity to sort of insert a character that I think should be in here, and that is the Punisher. The Punisher is a great villain. Could you imagine if Frank Castle wanted to kill you? Like, he's one of those that if you found out that that was the case, you don't know whether to turn yourself in or if he's just going to torture you more because you've given up the chase, or you should try and outrun him even though you know the fact that he's going to get you eventually. The Punisher is a very underrated villain to the point where he's still pretty much a villain, it's just that they put him up against worse people. So the Punisher, even though that's not who the picture's of, is definitely going to go into the superior category. And there was actually a really great story that was done by Garth Ennis, which I also reviewed at the beginning of this year, where the Punisher went up against Spider-Man, and Spider-Man still remembered all the times that Frank Castle tried to kill him. So I think we should be raising awareness of the Punisher as a Spider-Man villain, and that's why he's going to go into the top tier. Mysterio. Now, Mysterio is one of those that I wish was utilised more. I loved what they did with him in Far From Home, and I loved how they used the character in the Gauntlet. There's just something scary about a guy that can make you question your own reality. He's kind of like Bryce from Married at First Sight Australia, except for the fact that I'd actually like to have a conversation with Quentin Beck. For me, I'm somebody who likes to feel very comfortable in their surroundings. Again, I don't think there's too many people who like to feel uncomfortable in their surroundings, so having a villain that could make me question that is probably a really useful skill to have. So even though a lot of people might disagree with me on this, he's either really top amazing or bottom superior. I think at the minute I'm going to put him at top amazing because I don't really feel like we get to see a lot from the character that often. Maybe it's because of the fact that he'd be overpowered if he was. The Prowler, I'm not sure if this is the one that's related to Miles Morales or the original, and looking at it that way, if it was somebody that is a family member, I imagine that would be quite difficult for me to fight, even though in Stoke-on-Trent most people fight with the families in the street on a daily basis. But don't really know where I'd put him. He's not going to be superior, he's not amazing for me, he's either Bonesaw or C-list. I think I'm going to put him C-list. That feels right, because if you found out that at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home they teased that the Prowler was coming, you wouldn't really care. Now, the Rhino, a guy that reminds me of every meathead in my gym. And just like all of those meatheads in my gym, they are really easy to outsmart and move out the way if they do try to charge at you. One of my favourite levels in the Spider-Man PS1 game was the one against the Rhino, because it was just so fun making him charge into those poles that just electrocuted him. However, at the same time, it's kind of like Deontay Wilder, that he only really needs to hit you with one powerful hit and you're out. So we can't really underestimate him. I'm talking about this like I'm actually planning on fighting the Rhino next week or something. And for me personally, I am more scared of Rhino out of the Gladiators. I'm not sure if anybody watching this remembers UK Gladiators, but Rhino in that was terrifying. So realistically, I've always got Rhino at the forefront of my mind, which I think actually diminishes this one right here. However, I still can't deny I don't want to be surprised when he does charge into me, so I'm going to put him in the Bonesaw category and probably close to the top. Now, Sandman, again, another very underrated Spider-Man villain, and I'm gonna, without a doubt, put him in the superior category. I think at the minute, I'm probably gonna put him above everyone besides Doc Ock. But for me, as much as I don't want to drown, and I've planned my whole life around not drowning, I don't want to suffocate even more than that. There's just something about walking across sand and you feel that it's stable, that if all of a sudden it started enveloping you and you couldn't find a way out, that'd scare the shit out of me. But then again, if he was fighting me in Stoke-on-Trent, I do think I'd have the advantage because of the fact that, like I said, it does rain quite a bit. But it's still a risk I really don't want to take. But for me, yes, I do think he's a very underrated Spider-Man villain. Just the thought of drowning in sand, it going in your throat, oh, it's bad enough when it gets in your socks. Scorpion, again, another quite underrated Spider-Man villain, but I don't actually think he's in a top tier. Again, I always remember him from that PS1 game, and he scared the shit out of me on that. Please remember that I was about 6 when I played that, and also got quite scared of the bees in Spyro the Dragon 2. But yeah, it's kind of similar logic to what I used with Lizard, so I think I'm going to put him around about that same area. We've then got Scream, yet another symbiote. Like I said, there's just way too many of these guys. Pretty much in a similar boat as Anti-Venom. I think there's other ones that are much worse. Shocker, pretty much your discount Electro. I know some people get really annoyed when you say that, but let's just face the facts. Still, again, I haven't really built up any tolerance to electricity since I first spoke about Electro, but I don't think he's as dangerous, so I'm going to put him in the amazing category. Silver Sable, now this is a tricky one because of the fact that she's just got so many resources. I think she also would have to go into the amazing category for me, just because of how much she can bring to the table and make your life hell if you are going up against her. We've then got this guy, another one that yet again I can't really recognize, but he looks kind of badass, but at the same time I think he's not going to be as badass as some of the people above him, so I'm going to put him in the C tier. Spot, now Spot is a unique one because of the fact that you don't really see him utilized a lot, but he would personally scare the shit out of me. The only good thing about this pandemic is the fact that people have had to stay a safe distance away from me, and it's something that I'm going to miss. Spot has the ability to completely destroy that at the drop of a hat. It's kind of like the nurse in Dead by Daylight, and that was the one that made you say oh shit the most when you realized you were going up against them. So even though I really don't think he's proper top tier, I am going to put him close to the top of Bonesaw. Tombstone, a guy that was very intimidating in the PS4 games. It was one of the only interesting Mary Jane sections when you had to walk around and stealth your way around his lair, even though those Mary Jane levels were pretty much for the most part pretty damn awful. But still, Tombstone's in the category of other mafia bosses, but I do think he's the best of them besides Kingpin, so that feels about right there. Yet another symbiote, I don't even know which one this is, but I wouldn't like to go up against any symbiotes, so he's going in C list. Now, I'm gonna have to say something that I think a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on, but when it comes to Venom, I don't think he'd put up that much of a fight anymore. When I was growing up, especially reading some of the early issues that he was featured in, and also the way he appeared in that PS1 game, yeah, he was something that you wouldn't want to go up against. But I think the fact that they've tried so hard to turn him into a hero has kind of diminished the fear that you could have for him. For me, Venom is pretty much now like the equivalent of a Fast and Furious villain, that you'll probably fight him in one movie and then he'll be your best mate in the next one. And as well, for me, I'm more scared of Eddie Brock than I am of Eddie Brock as Venom. Now don't get me wrong, I imagine I could get him into quite a good conversation by talking about how wide his lats are and asking him what his PB on squats are, and imagine I actually would be quite good friends with Venom given the chance. But if I was to go up against him in a fight, I do have to stop bullshitting a little bit. He would easily wipe the floor with me, and I think he'd actually make it pretty quick and just eat me like he did in the Ultimate Spider-Man PS2 game. But for me, that actually kind of diminishes the fear that I have for him, so I'm going to put him in the amazing tier. We've then got Vermin, a guy that was really creepy in Kraven's Last Hunt, but I haven't really seen him in a lot of other things, and I actually just felt sorry for him most of the time, so I'm going to put him in Friendly Neighbourhood. I'd probably just get him like a really nice hoodie so that he wasn't cold, and I'd just see if he wanted any food. And by food, I do not mean myself. Now, we're coming into the last two, and I think we've got two very good villains here. Starting it off, we've got Vulture. I love how batshit crazy he is at all times. I think they actually should have made him a bit more batshit crazy in Homecoming. That would have been fun to see. And again, this is a guy that is just not afraid of picking me up, fly me high into the air and just dropping me. Like, I never want to go bungee jumping, I don't want to go parachuting, so falling from heights is one of my biggest fears, but don't really think he's in that superior category, so I am going to put him in the amazing tier. And then finally we've got the Green Goblin, who without a doubt is going to go into the superior category. This is a guy that doesn't just want to kill you, he wants to kill everyone you care about first. Yeah, there are others on this list like Tombstone and Hammerhead that would probably do that as well, but the Green Goblin's going to do it himself. And the worst bit is, sometimes he might do it in front of you, and sometimes he might just let you discover it. And he is just one of those villains that's going to attack you where he knows it hurts most. So beyond just family, beyond the Shadow Cat, beyond my friends, he's probably going to throw a Goblin bomb into my comic room. And don't get me wrong, I'd go after him after that, but he's probably going to kill me. And little known fact, my favourite ever final fight in any movie, not just superhero, is Green Goblin vs Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man 1. I think that is an absolutely phenomenal fight. It's so brutal. He doesn't really give Peter Parker a chance at all. He's just beating the shit out of him, and you can tell that he's actually enjoying it. So for me, what a way to end this tier list, because Green Goblin has to go into the superior category. So for me, that's my tier list, and I think I'm quite fortunate in the fact that 4 out of my superior category are going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home. But yeah, I had a really good time doing this. Like I said, there's going to be a link to the tier list in the description down below. But if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like this video, why did you get this far? Share this video where you can to try and hype people up for Spider-Man No Way Home, even though it feels like everybody's as hyped as they could probably be right now. But I guess that's the video, and until next time, just make sure that you stay safe and stay mad, all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.